your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are, return to who you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again, return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are, return to who you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again, return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Welcome to everyone, wherever you are. I'm Rabbi Hannah Spiro. I am so happy to be joined here on the Bima by the newly ordained Rabbi Jenna Shaw, by Michael Allen, Joe Hurwitz, Dan Gordon, and now, for the first time, Sophie Press. And we're here not only physically sharing space with many people in the sanctuary, but also by folks joining us virtually, thanks to Andrew Logan and his live streaming. If you are live streaming the service and you want to comment on it, Rabbi Jenna and I can actually see what you're writing. So no one's tested it out yet, but when you do, we can see it, because it's the 2020s. So give us a Shana Tova. And I am really grateful once again to be in this beautiful space at the Lutheran Church of the Reformation. Before we begin, I've been told to let everyone know the key safety features of this building and this evening. So there's a comprehensive safety plan we're following, which includes our volunteer greeters and ushers and a collaboration with law enforcement. We're here at 212 East Capitol Street Northeast, and we're using only the main sanctuary door to enter and exit during the holiday, which will also include children's program enter and exiting tomorrow morning. So please help with that plan. In the event of emergency, there are multiple exits there and there, and our ushers at the front will direct you. Please note that in the unlikely event that we have to evacuate the building, our meeting point is at 4th and East Capitol at Grubbs Pharmacy and Grocery Store. And the staff of the children's program has been told to take the children directly to our meeting point if an evacuation is necessary. And as you leave today, please take a moment to thank our volunteers and law enforcement for keeping us safe and developing this plan. I also want to take a special opportunity to say, not only are we here at Reformation for, I think this is the 8th year, maybe even plus, but Pastor Kevin Van Diver is here for now the past 7 months? 9 months. Okay, so maybe a new face to our community, but not a new face anymore at Reformation. And he has graciously agreed to come up and say a few words of welcome. So, and he's got Ethan with him, which is a beautiful thing. Ethan and Dorothy, my daughter, are buddies.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sexy.
Oh, it is on. How is everybody?
Ethan turned it on.
Yeah, okay. My name is Kevin. Wait a minute, Ethan. Can Daddy talk? Wait, no, wait. My name is Kevin Vanver, and I am the senior pastor here at Lutheran Church of the Reformation. I have been here for 9 months, and I want to wish everybody a grand Shana Tova. May this year be good and sweet for all of us, despite what's going on out there. It is kind of my heart, and I've been talking with Rabbi Hannah, that we really deepen our partnership. And I've told my staff and told the congregation here that you all are key partners in this work that we are doing together. Yes, in terms of justice, equity, fairness for all people. So I hope to be seeing some more of you around on behalf of our congregation. Thank you for our partnership. Wait. Thank you for the partnership that we share, and I hope it will be here for many years to come.
Pastor Kevin and Ethan, thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us. So, we are coming into the new year from so many places this evening, from gratitude and joy, from worry and despair, from grief and pain, and from the kind of hectic busyness that makes it hard to tell where we're really coming from. We're coming from curiosity and openness. We're coming from a need for a connection to our ancestors, to ancient wisdom, to one another. Wherever it is we're coming from, you are so welcome, and we're going to read together on page 7. This night, as the new year begins, we come together as a community. Yet each of us is strangely solitary.
Each of us comes here with special hopes and dreams. Each of us bears our own worries and concerns.
Each of us has a story no one else can tell. Each of us brings praise no one else can offer.
Each of us feels joy no one else can share. Each of us has regrets that others cannot know.
And so at this sacred time we pray. If we are weary, may we find strength. If we are discouraged, may we find hope.
If we have forgotten how to share, may we teach each other and learn together. If we have been careless with one another, may we seek and receive forgiveness.
If our hearts have been chilled by indifference, may we be warmed by renewed purpose, inspired by the light of this holy night. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly, a cessation from work, a day of commemoration proclaimed at the sound of the shofar. May it be a day of renewal and rebirth, a day of remembrance and affirmation, a day of looking inward and stepping forward. On page 8, we read together, "We are here on this Rosh Hashanah Eve, poised somewhere between what we have been and what we wish to be. We are here in celebration and in search, in judgment and embrace, ready to confront ourselves and the world in which we find ourselves this night. We seek to open wide the windows we have hidden behind, and to send forth heart and soul to learn where we have come from, what we have become, and what we hope to be. As we begin the 10 days of tshuva, of return, we pause to honor those who came before us, who have illuminated our paths. To our Creator, we pray, remember us unto life. Inscribe us into the book of life." I'd like to call up Kathy Duval, who will be leading us in a poem by Mark Frydenberg on page 8.
Open to me the gates of righteousness. I will enter them and give thanks to God. With each day, one gate closes and another opens. I ask God to watch over me as I walk life's path from one gate to another. Help me reach the gate of understanding. Teach me to enter the gate of compassion. Enable me to dance at the gate of joy. Comfort me when I pass through the gates of sorrow. Guide me as I seek the gate of the Spirit. Be with me through the gate of healing. Show me the way to the gate of the heart. Open for me the gates of righteousness, that I may enter them to praise you. This is the gateway to God. The righteousness shall enter there.
Asher Koach. Thank you, Kathy. Now I'd like to welcome up the Paisner family, who will be leading us in our candle lighting on page 9. Amen. Asher
Yasher
Koach.
Koach.
Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom.
In just a minute, we're going to turn to the Shehekianu. Personally, I've been through many transitions this year. And with each transition, I found myself drawing closer and closer to these words. Thank you, God, for allowing me to reach this moment in time. So as we say these words for the first time this new year, what is something you did for the first time this past year? What is something scary that you may have gotten through? What is something uncertain that you've experienced? What is something that you want to try for the first time in this coming year? These are the questions that I invite you to ponder as we turn to page 9 for the Shehekianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu b'zman hazeh. We sing a song for the mystery, the challenge, and the journey of the year to come. Esa Enai. Us in a responsive reading on page 10, followed by Alyssa Silverman, who will be continuing on with a short story on page 11. Dia and Alyssa, let's go. Page 10, just go right there.
In the beginning of God's unfolding of the heavens and earth was wild and wasted, and darkness blackened the face of the deep. The breath of God hovered over the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light that was good and separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night, and there was evening and there was morning, the first day.
Yasher Koach, page 11.
Are we doing? Is it responsive?
The story is told of a girl who one day went out into the fields. When she returned, her mother asked where she had been, and the child responded, "I went out to speak to God." Each day for some time, the girl would go outside, and when she returned, mother and daughter would participate in the same exchange. Finally, the mother asked the girl why she had to go out to the fields to speak to God. After all, God is the same everywhere. "Yes," replied the girl, "but I am not." As we rise to recite the Baruch Hu, may this congregation and this sanctuary be a special place where we can speak to God.
Yasher Koach, Alyssa. Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit in the middle of page 11 for the call to prayer. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. I'd like to invite Sophie Press to transition us into our twilight blessing on page 12.
As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight, for twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscrossed paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define, we can always say a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight.
Amen.
Amen.
ומעביר יום ובן לילה, מעביר בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב על אביב.
Amen.
We turn to Hashivenu on the bottom of page 12. This prayer is the first time we encounter the root shuv, the root of the word tshuva, meaning to return. As we turn to these words, let us think about perhaps the parts of ourselves that we want to return to in the next year. Who are the people who maybe have gotten away from us that we want to return to? What are the places we've always dreamed of traveling, or the places we want to return back to? Let these words and let our images and our imagination guide us as we turn to Hashivenu on the bottom of page 12.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Ben Ashuva, Ben Ashuva, Hades, Hades, Namenu Kekede. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
I'd like to invite up David Sobelson, who will be offering a passage from Albert Einstein.
A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. We experience ourselves, our thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of our consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty.
Thank you. With that message in our minds, we prepare for the Shema on page 14. And I'd also like to call up Dan and Oz Glucksman, who will be leading us in Be'ahavta afterwards. So with that thought, Einstein's thought that we take this extra step toward liberation from that delusion of separation. We remind ourselves of connection to transcendence, to nature, to earth, to one another, and we invite each other to do the same. The Shema, page 14. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol nafshecha. I'm sorry, can I start again? Sorry. Sorry, guys. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol ovcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meyodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha V'shinatam levanecha b'dibar tabam v'shiftecha v'eitecha uvleftecha v'derech uvshachtecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uvtaktam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
Thank you. We continue silently through the middle of page 15.
The passage through the Sea of Reeds was the birthing of the Jewish people. Our first act as a people, as a community, was to sing.
Not to pray, not to enact law, not to organize, but to sing. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tegilot o sefer. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, bogei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, גאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. תקעו בחודש שופר, בכסל יום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט אלוהי הכל.
On the top of page 17, we're going to turn to the Hashkivenu. This is one of Judaism's most intimate prayers. It's a prayer that is said by many before bed, others while they're recovering from an illness. It asks for peace of heart, peace of mind, peace in the world. So what does it mean to say such deep and intimate words together in community? Let these words and let this practice of bringing our intimate thoughts and feelings and allowing them to be held in this space be a model and an invitation for the rest of these 10 days. Let us feel hope and let us feel strengthened by the fact that whatever it is that we are going through, that this community can hold it together. Hashkivenu on the top of page 17.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, Hamideinu Malkeinu L'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, Hamideinu Malkeinu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, Hamideinu Malkeinu L'chaim. So with that sense of inner peace, or the possibility for it, we remember, of course, that this new year is not just one of remembering creation, but one of remembering rest. Shabbat Shalom. We celebrate the ways in which we honor our need for rest and peace, and we aspire to a lifetime of honored, remembered, and peaceful Shabbats to come with Vishamru in the middle of page 17. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולצפונם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולצפונם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולצפונם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, rise in body or in spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 18. יתקדם ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
נעמד יברך יותה וימליך מלכותה ביום אחד וביום אחד ובחיי תכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקדושה
ריחו.
לעילא ולעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה
ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Page 19. Our Amidah is our private moment of contemplation while standing all together as a community. So we'll sing these preliminary words together at Anai Spatai Tiftach, and then we'll continue silently, either using the traditional language on pages 20 through 27, or simply exploring what's within us. And we've added questions for reflection, as well as poetry, on pages 25 through 27. So spend time with that as well, or come back to that later. We'll join together eventually after our silent prayer, seated. Whenever you're ready, you can have a seat with Shalom Rav on page 25. But preparing for this time, we turn toward the Kotel, that ancient wall in Jerusalem, towards which our ancestors have turned with their own hopes, dreams, and gratitudes for millennia. With these words, we are connected with them. With this time, we are connected with them. And we are connected with one another. We connect with ourselves and with our own yearnings for the new year. The bottom of page 19 with this Amidah. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Spatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Spatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. continue at your own pace. Join us on page 25. Shalom
Yisrael Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha. Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim
On page 28, we join together in Oseh Shalom. We are layering our prayers for peace, insisting on an end to violence, and believing still in our capacity for that peace, al kol yoshvei tevel, for all who dwell on her. Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom b'na'ama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'yavol Yisrael ve'yavol tevel. Oseh Shalom b'na'ama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'yimeru. Amen.
As we transition to the sermon, an invitation to just take a little bit of a breath. Shana Tova. Sometimes when I read a Jewish text, I feel an emotion. Sometimes it's love, other times it's anger, and sometimes it's empathy. And then there are times that I read a text and it maps on so acutely to the current political or societal reality that the text comes off the page and all the feelings of love, anger, and empathy come to life. The text we're going to read tomorrow morning is one of those texts. We will read the narrative of our foreparents, Abraham and Sarah, their struggles with fertility, and the pain that comes as a result of their trials. Abraham and Sarah desperately wanted children. God had promised them that as many descendants as the stars in the sky. Yet, they had yet to see one even 10 years after that promise, and they were both on the verge of being way too old to bear. So after countless failed attempts, they decided to make one final desperate choice. Sarah suggested to Abraham that they hire Hagar, a poor Egyptian woman, to be Sarah's handmaiden and eventually be the person to conceive, birth, and raise Abraham's son Ishmael. Immediately after Hagar conceived, Sarah began to despise her. Finally, 13 years after Ishmael's birthday, Sarah gave birth to a son named Isaac. However, when Isaac turned 2, Sarah's animosity intensified as she became concerned that Ishmael would take her son's birthright. Therefore, she banished Hagar and Ishmael into the desert, risking both of their lives. This story is tragic on so many levels. Sarah lived through the incredible pain of infertility, exacerbated by a patriarchal structure that measured a woman's worth based on her ability to have children. At the same time, her actions caused tremendous generational harm and nearly killed 2 people. These actions are what I want to focus on tonight. Why was it that Sarah, only after receiving the child she had long awaited and prayed for, felt no choice but to banish Ishmael and Hagar? Why was it that when she finally got the thing she wanted and experienced her own happiness, she couldn't allow Hagar to have the happiness of her child, Hagar's child, alongside her? And how can this choice help us understand how we can make decisions today? Some Torah commentators try to justify Sarah's behavior by suggesting that Ishmael did something horrible to Isaac. But to me, that feels like apologetics. There's nothing in the text that suggests that this was actually the case. Another Midrash's interpretation leads us to believe that the impetus for the banishment is that Sarah likely sees Isaac and Ishmael playing. Scholar Noam Sion teaches that the word used in the text shares a root with Isaac's name, laughter, meaning that the text indicates that the 2 boys were merely having fun. Or, if you want to push the literary angle, Ishmael was Isaacing with Isaac. Upon seeing this, Sarah instructs Abraham to cast off the slave woman and her son, saying that the son of a slave will not take the inheritance entitled upon her son. There are so many coinciding and complex societal factors in place that shape this moment. But ultimately, Sarah, Abraham's wife, the person in a powerful position, a woman with geographic, ethnic, and class privilege, couldn't fathom a world in which her son Isaac and the son she had earlier encouraged her husband to forcibly conceive with Hagar share an inheritance. I'm going to say that again. Sarah, a woman with geographic, ethnic, and class privilege, couldn't fathom a world in which her son Isaac and the son she had earlier encouraged her husband to forcibly conceive with Hagar share an inheritance. Society's framework, her fear, jealousy, and trauma gave her no choice but to act with a zero-sum mentality, not only impacting Ishmael and Hagar's lives, but hurting her son, her husband, and her own life, an idea that is often overlooked. I recently read Heather McGhee's best-selling book, The Sum of Us, in which McGhee tries to answer one fundamental question about society. Why can't we have nice things? And by nice things, she writes, not hovercrafts or laundry that does itself, although that would be really nice. By nice, she is referring to more basic aspects of a high-functioning society, like adequately funded schools, reliable infrastructure, wages that keep workers out of poverty, or a healthcare system that can handle pandemics. And when she says we, she means all Americans, not just black or white, straight or gay. As she highlights, white Americans are the largest group of uninsured, and Americans of color are disproportionately impoverished and lack access to healthcare. Her answer is simple. The United States, for much of its history and present moment, has operated in what is called a zero-sum game. This means that the entire framework of society is built on a mindset that if I win, you must lose, and vice versa, but we can't win together. If I win, you must lose, but we can't win together. Because of this, we have created a system of racism that was theoretically built on one group being hurt, while the other group benefits. But in actuality, it hurts everyone. She powerfully illustrates this idea with the story about public pools. America was once graced with sprawling numbers of public swimming pools, some large enough to hold thousands of swimmers at any moment. In the 1920s, towns tried to undo each other by trying to build the most elaborate public pools. Can you imagine that? Pretty cool. By the 1930s, the Works Progress Administration put people to work, building even more pools. By World War II, America's 2,000 public pools were a proud commitment and symbol of the new commitment by local officials to the quality of life of their residents, enabling hundreds of thousands of people to socialize together for free. These were envisioned to be social melting pots, like free public schools. Public pools were seen as an Americanization project intended to overcome ethnic divisions and cohere a common American identity. And in parts of the country, it worked. But in other parts of the country, and for many people, it was not working because they never had access to the pools. And then this system collapsed on itself, causing pools to close down in droves. In the 1950s, the white commitment to this public good reached its limit, and communities chose to close the pools rather than integrate. Desegregation began to raise questions about what public really meant and who public was really for. Black residents pressed for access to these public pools, stating that their tax dollars had helped build them, and they had. If assets were public, they argued, they must be furnished on an equal basis. City officials chose a zero-sum game, and this decision led to the whole community losing. There were a select group who could go to a private pool at a country club, but the majority of the community, white and black people alike, lost because of the decision to close rather than to integrate pools. Rather than integrate, everyone lost the ability to swim. We saw this example come to fruition in Montgomery, Alabama. The Oak Park pool was the grandest of them all. Of course, the pool was for white people only. But when the courts deemed that the segregation was unconstitutional, rather than integrate, the council decided to drain the pool rather than share it with their black neighbors. In communities like this across the United States, I'm imagining Isaac and Ishmael. I imagine people of different backgrounds just like Isaac and Ishmael, black and white, playing in their local pools. I imagine their mothers, Sarah and Hagar, of these communities, watching on. But rather than these two playing together, these communities across the United States followed in Sarah's footsteps. And rather than playing together, these communities followed Sarah's footsteps and banished the Hagars. Rather than banishing them into the desert, they closed their local pools with cement. They limited opportunities of their public schools by replacing them with private ones, and so much more. And in this, they caused the same generational harm that will impact their children and grandchildren to this day. The same harm that deeply hurt Isaac and Ishmael's generation. So what was the harm of Ishmael and Isaac playing together in a pool? Would playing in the pool with Ishmael make Isaac less good? Would playing with him, someone of a lower stature, impact Isaac negatively and influence him too much? Would he have an easier access to Sarah's son's inheritance because he was in such close proximity? In reality, we don't know the answers to these questions, but what we do know is that no one won. Isaac and Ishmael lost their playmates, but beyond their playmates, they lost so much more. The story of Isaac and Ishmael is one of the most well-known stories of unresolved conflict, deeply rooted, that has caused generational harm. Sarah's zero-sum thinking has led to generations of strife. Just as with the pools, it may seem like a simple thing, but it is representative of an entire framework of race, individual decision-making, and policy in America. Although the closing of pools happened over 70 years ago, and Sarah banished Hagar and Ishmael thousands of years ago, this deep-sum mentality today is deeply embedded in how we make decisions. It impacts the decisions about where we choose to send our kids to school, where we choose to live, or how we talk about other neighborhoods, schools, or people. We couch these assumptions in well-meaning attitudes or our own justifications without calling them what they are. We, like the commentators, twist ourselves into knots, justifying these choices. And it's hard. These are big decisions that we make in our lives. Yet if we are committed to living in a world of justice, we must do better for ourselves and our future generations. Because these choices don't just impact us and our families in the moment. They have astronomical generational impacts. And what is so scary about this zero-sum thinking is that no one is immune to it. Not even the most progressive or liberal or well-intentioned people. So what are these narratives we tell ourselves about how society must run and function that are so deeply ingrained that we don't even realize we are telling them or living them out? How do we stop them in their tracks and change course? Today is the birthday of the world, the day that the world has the opportunity to be created anew. On this day, and in the year 5784, let us reconcile past mistakes, frameworks, and assumptions. Let us dream of new possibilities, and let this be the year that through our actions, words, and advocacy, we can disrupt this dangerous cycle. In 5784, let us begin to remove the cement from the pools, fill them up with water, and begin to fulfill the promise of justice that Jewish tradition demands of us. We're not obligated to complete the work, but we can't desist from it. Shana Tova.
Yasher koach.
I'm gonna knock everything over with me. We now invite up Charity Struthers to open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu on page 28. And from one complicated part of our tradition to another, we reconcile with what it means to have images of God as Father and of King, and allow ourselves to imagine what it would look like in a world where God could be queen, God could be non-binary, God could be a parent of any gender. We rise in body or in spirit. Open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu on 28.
Avinu Malkeinu, Honenu Vanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Honenu Vanenu, Ki Ein Banu Masim. Aseh Imanu, Tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'anenu, Ki Ein Banu Masim.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh imanu lema'an shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Hafer Asat Oivenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Salach Umechal Lechol Avonoteinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chachasirenu, Vishuva Shlema Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Salach Refuah Shlema Lecholim. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Kula Vishua. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Parnasa V'Chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Zechuyot. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodvenu B'Sefer Slicha Umechila. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatzma Lanu Yeshua B'Karov. Avinu Malkeinu, Zachor Ki Afar Anachnu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, V'al Olaleinu V'Tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Lema'an Harugim Al Shem Kodshecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Lema'an Shemecha, Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, Shenikra Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu V'Aneinu, Ki Hem Banu Ma'asim. Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah V'Chesed. Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu V'Aneinu, Ki Hem Banu Ma'asim.
Please be seated. This time, I'd like to invite up Susan Cohen, Sister Clock Charity, because we just grappled with some real vulnerability, which we'll continue to do throughout the high holidays. But just as our tradition contains imagery of God as our parent and our ruler, so too it contains imagery of God as part of us, as intimately growing and figuring things out with us. And so Susan is going to lead us in a conversation with that aspect of God on page 31.
Shahina. Okay. Shahina, the source of our life, hear our prayer and have compassion for us.
Shekhinah, the source of our life,
Remember that we are your sons and daughters.
Shahina, the source of our life, teach us to recognize our potential.
Shekhinah, the source of our life, guide us in the ways of pleasantness.
Shahina, the source of our life, teach us compassion and tzedakah.
Shekhinah, the source of our life, be with us for the sake of those who struggle for peace and justice.
Shahina, the source of our life, turn our mournings to joy and our sadness to happiness.
Shekhinah, the source of our life, bless our land and the work of our hands.
Shahina, the source of our life, gather your children from the four corners of the earth.
Shekhinah, the source of our life, complete the building of Jerusalem, your holy city. Shekhinah, Susan. I'd like to welcome up the Gregorian family to lead us in a prayer for our community and our people on page 32.
May the whole house of Israel, scattered over the earth, yet bound by a common history and united by a common heritage of insight and hope, find the courage to build upon its diversity and affirm its creativity. May all those lives are made hard because they are Jews find the strength to endure, and may we stand with them in their struggle to move from bondage to freedom, from darkness to light.
May each of us be blessed with wisdom. Let health, peace, and happiness reign in our homes and in our hearts. Let each of us commit ourselves to the other in a covenant of freedom.
Let us send healing thoughts and deeds of kindness to those in pain and anxiety. Let us be their refuge in times of trouble and aid them as they pass from weakness to strength, from suffering to consolation, from fear to courage. Strange is our situation here upon earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of others.
Above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends, and also for the countless unknown souls whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy.
God may it be your will to put an end to war and bloodshed on earth, and to spread a great and wonderful peace over the whole world. So the nation shall not lift their sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Yasha Koach, page 33.
Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'ahuram. Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'ahuram. Salam Aleinu, Ve'achol Ha'olam. Salam, Salam. Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'ahuram. Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Orevot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'ahuram. Salam Aleinu, Ve'achol Ha'olam. Salam, Shalom.
I'd now like to welcome up the chair of Hill Havurah's Board of Directors, Aaron Hiller, to offer some announcements.
I have a helper. This is Alex Hiller. Alex, when I was a boy, when I sat through services well, what did your papi promise me?
Unlimited cookies.
Unlimited cookies. Kids, that is between you and your parents. But when we conclude our service today, you are welcome to join us downstairs for the adults, at least, all the dessert you can eat. Our Rosh Hashanah services begin tomorrow morning at 9:30. Please join us at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for Tashlich at the kayak dock at the Navy Yard. Did I do that right? Well, close enough. Our Yom Kippur service begins with Kol Nidre, Sunday, September 24th at 7 p.m. Thank you to everybody on the Bima for a lovely service tonight. Yasher Koach, Rabbi Jenna. Thank you to Alan Schusterman, who's hiding in the back, who always makes sure this goes off without a hitch. Thank you to our hosts here at the Lutheran Church of the Reformation. While you're coming in and out for the high holidays this year, consider helping us fill their food pantry. We do a pretty good job of that every year. You can find all of the information you need for what they need on our website at hillhavurah.org. From my family to yours, Shana Tova.
Yasha Koach, Aaron and Alex.
Yasher Koach. And as they spoke so beautifully about the responsibility to showing up for our community, the Aleinu prayer reminds us what it means to show up and the responsibility we have to be together in community, to show up for ourselves, to show up for the world beyond the walls of our community. We turn to page 33 and rise in body or spirit for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gedula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam helkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, Mishachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo, begavei meromim. Hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatu betorato, v'yadata hayom v'chashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, V'al haaretz, v'itachad, einod. V'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. I'd like to welcome up Emily Satterthwaite to lead us in the words of Judy Chicago in the middle of page 35.
And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Yasher Koach. I'd now like to invite Crystal Sebron and Jessica Smith, who will be leading us on pages 36 and 37 as we turn our thoughts to our loved ones of blessed memory.
I don't know. She didn't tell me.
We do the top part or start here? So Crystal's leading you remember them, and then Jessica will lead us to the top of page 37.
Okay. At the rising of the sun and its setting, we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. For they are now part of us as we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
The Kaddish is among the best known and most frequently recited Jewish prayers. It is recited during the 11 months of mourning and on the subsequent anniversaries of the death of a loved one. The Kaddish was not originally intended as a prayer for mourners and does not include a syllable about death. It seems altogether silent about those thoughts that are likely to fill the mourner's mind and heart. And yet, the Kaddish makes several vital affirmations which relate directly to the mourner. The Kaddish offers a reassurance of inner peace and serenity. The Kaddish challenges mourners to contribute their energies to the making of a better world. Reciting the Kaddish is a link with the past, a gracious way to honor the dead and ennoble the living.
I now invite all who are in mourning, having lost a loved one in the past year, and all who are observing a yahrzeit, having lost a loved one this time of year in past years, to rise for the mourner's Kaddish. And if you'd like to share the name or the names of the individuals you're thinking of, you're welcome to do so. If it's your custom to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, you're invited to do so. Page 37, the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon u'yomechon u'v'chayei techol be'Yisrael. B'agala u'vizman karib v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabba v'barach ve'olam l'omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudushat b'richu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Chushbahata v'nechamata. Damiran be'ama v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru.
Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. We turn to page 39.
Elohim chai v'yishtabach Yitzhak v'yeneh El tziyuto echad v'yen yachid v'yichuto Ne'lam v'gan ein sof v'yachuto Im lo Narok Elot Kedushato, Kadmon L'chol Davar Asher Nivra, Rishon V'Ein Reshit L'Reshito, Hino Adon Olam Echol Notzar, Yoreh Gedulato, Malchuto, Shefa Nevuato, Netano, Elanche Segulato V'Tifarto, Okom B'Yisrael K'Moshe Or, Navi Umavit Et Emunato, Torah Temet Natan Le'amoel, Hayad Midian Eman Beito, Lo Yachal Yifaem V'lo Yamir Dato, Me'olamin Mezulato, Sofer V'Yodea Sitarenu, Mavin Som Davar V'Kadmaso, Meli Chesed K'Mifalo, Noten Merashara K'Rishato, Yishlach L'Ketz Yomim Eshivheinu, Nikdok Mechake Ketz Yeshuato, Meitim Yechayel V'Rov Chasto, Baruch Adonai Shem Tehilato, Meitim Yechayel V'Rov Chasto, Baruch Adonai Shem Tehilato.
Together we bless each other at the bottom of page 40. L'shana tova tikatenu v'techatemu. May a good year be written and sealed for you. I'd like to welcome up the Simon family to lead us in the Kiddush, Ellen Opper-Weiner to lead us in Hamotzi, and the Nathanson family to lead us in our blessing over apples and honey on page 41.
Microphone over.
Bri Hagafen.
Amen.
I guess I put my hand on the bread. Usually.
You can take the cover off.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you can take the cover off. Yeah.
Why not? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Yiratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'Imatenu shetikadesh aleinu shana tova u'matuka.
May it be your will, Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors, that you renew for us a good and sweet year.
Thank you, Yasher Koach. If you're live streaming at home, you can just get out some wine and some challah and some apples and honey right now if you have it. For the rest of us, we'll head downstairs. L'shana tova u'matuka, a good and a sweet new year. So grateful to everyone who played a role in this service, from up here, from down there, from the interwebs. And I hope to see you tomorrow morning at 9:30. Shana tova.
Shana tova.
Yasher Koach.